Hi, I'm Maggie Weldon from maggiescrochet.com, and this video is sponsored by Premier Yarns. I've done a lot of arm knitting. I absolutely love it. The arm knitted scarves like you see here only take about a half hour to make. This one may take a little bit of extra time because you have to prepare several strands of different yarns and work with them together as one strand. So for this scarf, I combined like 3 strands of Eversoft yarn, which is a worsted weight yarn that comes in 30 plus colors. And then I combined a couple of strands of City Life. And then I combined a few strands of Enchant yarn. And I think the outcome was really amazing, and it's very festive looking. And you could sew the ends together of your knitted scarf and create like a cowl wrap like you see here, or you could leave it unsewn and then just fringe the ends and wear it as a scarf. I've done a lot of arm knitting videos, and they're on our YouTube channel, on Premier's YouTube channel, and the Maggie Weldon YouTube channel. And please subscribe to our channels, and then you'll know when new videos come out. And we're doing a lot of arm knitting videos and a lot of crochet videos, and we're even going to be doing some macrame videos coming up. So anyway, I'm gonna, the links to everything are listed below, and I'm gonna take you to a close-up shot now and show you how to cast on and bind off and create this beautiful scarf. Thank you for watching. Okay, I wound all my strands together, and there will definitely be a couple of arm knitting tips coming out of this experience. And I've measured off, here's all my strands that I'm putting together, and I'm going to use them as one strand. So I landed up with 6 strands of Cardinal and 6 strands of, and that was the Eversoft, and then 6 strands of City Life, and then 4 strands of the Enchant. So now I've measured off 3 yards for my long tail cast on. And at the 3-yard mark, I'm going to make a slip knot, and to do that, I'm just going to act as if this is one strand. I'm going to wrap this over the top strand. I'm going to fold across the back like that. Then I'm going to reach in and grab that strand and bring it through that circle. I'm going to bring it forward. You'll notice there's a knot side and a slip side. I'm going to tighten the knot side, and then open up the slip side so it's big enough to fit on onto my arm. So I slide that on. This is going to count as my first stitch right here, and this right here is my working yarn. So to cast on, you just reach in like this and pull up the 2 loops, go on this side of this loop like this, and then grab that loop over there and bring that through, and you're dropping this loop onto the long tail. So I'm going to put that loop up on my arm, and if you turn your arm over like this, you just tighten that loop like this. And you don't want it super tight because you want to be able to get this off of your arm if you had to. So just reach down, pull up the 2 loops, go on this side, reach over and get this one and put that up on your arm and tighten. You'll be tightening after every single stitch. Pull this up, go on this side, reach over and get the yarn over here and put that on your arm, and then tighten underneath. And then pull the strands up like this. So when you have a strand that's like this, you want to pull that down because you don't want that loop, that little loop, to be sticking out in your scarf. So you kind of have to make sure your strands stay kind of taut, kind of even. Okay, now pull this up, go on this side of this loop, pick up this strand and put that on your arm. Okay, pick this up, go on this side, pull up this strand, put that up on your arm. I have no idea why this strand is coming out like this. Oh, it's part of this. So you want to just keep making sure your strands are even. Okay, so I want to cast on 9. I have 2, 4, 6. So let me make sure these are pulled. Okay, I've got a bead that wants to make its way in here. Okay, so up here, go like this, and pull up this. Just make sure you keep pulling this out straight. My long tail, the yarn is getting bunched up, so I'm just going to pull it out and make sure there's no loops in it. This one is wanting to loop. There, got it out straight now. Okay, I'm going to tighten underneath like that. Now I have 2, 4, 6, 7. Pull this up. This will be 8. This right here will be 9. Let me go back. When in doubt, just go back. Okay. Right here, pull that strand up, put that on my arm. Okay, so now look how beautiful that is. So now I'm not going to do anything with the long tail anymore, and I'll only be working with my working yarn. So you hold the working yarn here like this in your hand, and you just drop this loop onto the working yarn, and you move the new loop over here, and then you tighten. Back to this hand, move this off over here and tighten. Move this off here, over to here and tighten. Move this off over to here and tighten. And then this off over to here and tighten. So you'll notice my long tail is over here, and then I'm pulling up my strands from underneath my table. I've got them all wound up, and when I pulled out enough to make this, I kept at about the 1 yard mark, I kept making slip knots, and I'm just going to take them out as I go, because I had to even the yarn all out, and then when I got it all straightened out, I would just put slip knots. Okay, so back over here, pull this down, new loop over here, and tighten. Pull these strands off, over to here, and tighten. This over to here, and tighten. Right here, over to here, and over to the opposite arm, and tighten. Now, I'm going to make sure I got enough yarn for the next row. Okay, I would definitely do this one standing up, and I had to put all of these skeins of yarn into separate little pails that I had, and to just to get it pulled up and straightened out so that I could make this. Okay, so this, drop this off, move it over to the opposite hand, and then tighten. You want to make sure that you get all the strands, and they're easy to see. They're coming right up out of there. They're coming out of the previous stitch. Always tighten. So now I'm just moving the loops over to the opposite side, and this is row 2 that I'm working on here. I think this will be well worth the effort. This is a great way to use up all different kinds of yarn out of your stash. So you might have like this 0 weight that you could combine with a number 5 weight, a bulky weight, super bulky, anything. Okay, last one over there. So that is the end of row 2, and it looks like this. Isn't that beautiful? It's gorgeous. So keep going back and forth, and then leave 3 yards at the end for your bind off, and I'll come back on camera when I've got this about 6 feet long, it should be. And when you run, if you use the 60 yards of, if you wound the 60 yards of Enchant, then when that 60 yards runs out, 3 yards before that runs out is when you want to stop your scarf. And it should be about 6 feet long according to my calculations. And then you need that extra 3 yards at the end to do your bind off with. So I'll come back on camera and show you how to bind off and how to put on fringe. So this is my scarf almost complete, and I've worked it all the way down until I ran out of the worsted weight yarn ran out first. So that's why I stopped short of about 2.5 yards to bind off. So I'm hoping that that's plenty for my bind off. And I ended up using 3 skeins of the red yarn. So I have 6 strands in my total strands that I used for the scarf. And in the beginning I said that I would use 3 skeins of the City Life yarn, and I ended up realizing that I only actually used 2 skeins of City Life. And so I have 4 strands because I pulled from the inside and the outside of the skein. And then I landed up with the 4, I think I've got, let me see, I've got 4 strands of the Enchant here, which is what my plan was for that. So this scarf turned out plenty big enough, thick enough, with using 1 less skein of City Life. And I would actually recommend that you could use 1 less skein of the Eversoft yarn and only have 4 strands of the worsted yarn. And then you would have 4 strands of each one of the yarns. So ideally, I wished I would have done that in hindsight. It would have been a little bit lighter, but this is absolutely gorgeous. When you see it in the photo, you'll know how beautiful it is, and everybody here at the office is madly in love with this one. It's very festive looking. So anyway, now I'm going to show you how to bind off, and I landed up on this arm, and it really doesn't matter when you're binding off which side it lands up on. So to get started on my bind off, I'm going to knit off 2 stitches. So I'm just going to hold my yarn like this and then move this over to here, and then I'm going to tighten. I'm going to get this out of the way so you can see it on white background like this. Okay, then knit the next one off like this and move it over here and tighten. Okay, now that I've got two stitches over here, I'm going to take the first stitch and move it over the second stitch. So this old goes over new like this, and I'm just going to drop that. So that stitch is bound off right there. So then I'm going to bring the yarn back over here, and I'm going to knit off 1 more stitch like this, put it over here, tighten. And now I'm going to take the previous stitch and drop it off over the new stitch like that and let it drop. Then I'm going to pick up all my strands again. This has been a challenge, to say the least, keeping track of all my strands, but it's so beautiful, really. Okay, so I'm holding on to this. I'm going to move all these over here. And I'm going to move this over here. Then I'm going to tighten. And then I'm going to take the previous loop, move it off over the new loop like this, and let that drop. Go back over here, making sure all my strands stay together, and I am going to move this here, knit a stitch, tighten, move this over here, drop that, pick up my strand again. Let me get this over here. Okay, I'm gonna knit the next stitch. Make sure you pick up all the strands, and then make sure all the strands aren't like pulling out like that. So you might have to go through each one and just tug on it. Okay, this one got a little bit loose in here somehow. So I'm gonna just, since I'm down near the end, I'm gonna, let's see if I can figure this one out. I'm gonna unknit this one. So I'm gonna move this back, and I'm gonna let that one drop out. And then I'm gonna take this back over here and see where the problem is. It's a loop that I didn't pick up over here. So let's see if I can pull that out now. There we go. All right, I'm back in business. Okay, so I just unknitted that stitch, which could happen. Now I'm going to knit that stitch back over here. You just have to keep pulling the strands and making sure that they don't get folded into the wrong place. It would help too if you did this standing up, because they're gonna drape down better. Okay, so I'm gonna take the previous loop, drop it over the new loop like this, and that one's bound off. Then I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna knit this stitch right here. I'm gonna pull this over here, pull this tight. I gotta make sure all my strands stay straight, like that. I'm gonna take the previous loop, move it over the new loop, and let that drop off. I'm gonna pick up my strands again. I'm gonna knit this one off, move it over here, pull it, move the previous loop over the new loop like this, hold this again, knit the last one off, move this over, tighten, take the previous loop and move it over the new loop like this, and then when you're down to your last loop, you would cut this probably this long, and you would go ahead and pull that strand all the way through the last loop like that, and then you tug on it just a little, and then you're done. So those are the bind off stitches right here, and they look like little chains running across there. So that's how you do that. And at this point you could make this into, you could let this be a fringe scarf, and I'm going to show you real quick how to add fringe. And right here I've taken about an 8-inch piece of cardboard, and I wrapped the strands around the cardboard, and then I cut the one side. So I'm just going to take several strands of this like this, and I'm going to take a very large crochet hook. Here I have a size N, and this end here that you have, you can just incorporate that into your fringe on the end, or you can just let it hang as if it is the fringe. That's probably a better idea. Alright, so you just go up here, you put all the strands on your hook like this, and you make sure they're kind of taut, and then you're coming from the back to the front, you're putting that folded loop on there, and then you're bringing your hook to the back, and then you're going to wrap over all these loops here, and then take that folded edge and move it over that like that, and then you have your tassel like that. So this is on the right side where you have that little finish loop. On the wrong side it looks like that. So it's your preference, but typically they're done like this with the little bar running across there. So you just fringe all the way across here and you could have a nice little scarf, or you would, if you want to make a cowl, and this is plenty long enough to wrap around twice, you would just line the stitches up so that you're seeing all these ovals on the right side. And then you want to bring the cast on stitches up next to the bind off stitches, and you want to line them up here. And then on the wrong side of this, so you want to kind of flip it over, so the part that should be facing you is the one with the little bars running across, like right here. You see they look different from the other side. Okay, but you want to make sure you have all of it facing the same way, and then you just join these together. You take one of the sides. I'll take this side right here. You would put this, you could put this on a big needle. I haven't found a big enough needle for this yet. Or you could put it on a big safety pin. Okay, so, or you could just do this by hand, which is what I typically do. So all you need to do is take a bulk of yarn on each side and run this through the stitches like this. So I'm just feeding it through the stitches, and I'll go all the way across, and I'll be connecting the cast on stitches with the bind off stitches. So just like this. And then at some point you may want to bring a loop through like this, and then bring the strand all the way through, and it'll make like a little knot. And you could come through there a second time and make another knot like that to connect it, and then just keep going all the way down till they're all matched up. So you just continue on, and then you'll have a nice cowl when you get done. So that's how you make a arm knitted cowl using multiple strands of yarn. And I suggest you, once you get a little bit of experience with arm knitting, that this is a great project to try, and it's a great way to use up different varieties of yarns that are in your yarn stash. So I'm going to thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you subscribe to our channel.